You know, folks, Donald says it down there. And before I start, I'm going to ask very I'm going to ask very kindly for people not to bombard the comment section with the purist talk. Because what I'm asking out of respect is for you guys to look at this from an unbiased standpoint. At least try to. I know a lot of people will look at me and they say, well, Brian, you don't look at anything from an unbiased standpoint. And you have a right to your opinion on that, but what I'm asking out of respect, because I am trying to work with both sides on this. I'm trying to express both sides' situation on this. So, I want to do this right now. Out of respect, I want to do this, but out of respect for this, if you have any respect whatsoever, any kind of manners, I am asking you, please, for one time, do not bombard this with purist talk. Look at it from an unbiased standpoint. That's all I'm asking. So, okay, with that said, you know, ever since this whole situation with Mecha Sally began, the whole Sally being roboticized and then being weaponized and all that, and then ever since the whole decision of her, or not the decision, but ever since the teaser of what potentially could be her redesign, even though sources are saying that they're working on it now, they've actually taken the design and they're still working on it. Here's one thing that I want to talk about, and this is my own personal opinion. And again, if you have any respect, I'm asking. No purists, look at this from an unbiased standpoint. But when, over the past year and a half, a lot of fans have, gone back and forth on the whole Mecha Sally issue. And the fans that have been against it are this, feeling the same way about the crossover. They're feeling the same way about the crossover. They feel that it's not necessary, or wasn't necessary, and that the result is not going to be as good. But they do hope that they're wrong. That's the one thing, they do hope that they're wrong. But you see, here's the thing about the whole crossover situation. In the whole Mecha Sally situation. See, the reason they don't like it is not just because, they feel in their opinions, which they have a right to, that Ian Flynn's been kicking Sally and all the other SatAM characters to the side to give the spotlight to the game characters. It's more along the lines that they feel it could have been done differently. A lot of the fans that are pointing out all these different flaws, if you will, especially with the whole, Sally and Nicole had control of the beam and they could have pointed it up 90 degrees and shot it out through the sky and been done with it. Basically, when they find flaws like that and things like that, they pretty much are saying, hey, look, this was all basically forced into happening because, and the way they look at it, in all due respect to Ian Flynn, he's a great writer, potentially could be one of the best of all time. you know. And I will give Ian credit that at least he does come out and say, hey, look, you know, this happened, this was originally supposed to happen, but because of this, it did not, and, you know, I mean, heck, he's basically, heck, he basically said in an interview recently that mainly the comic is, you know, nothing more than an advertisement for the games. It's crazy as that sounds. I'm sorry for the microwave in the background, but I'm warming me up some coffee again. But again, you know, it's like, as crazy as it sounds, you know, as it sounds, he did say something along those lines. In a recent podcast interview he did with Find the Computer Room. You know, and again, I'll give Ian credit. At least he comes out and basically says how he feels sometimes about certain things. Like, you could tell, in a sense, that even though he acknowledges that he's doing his job, he's not too happy at times when his job gets interrupted. In other words, he doesn't like it when a company like Sega or Capcom comes around and says, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh, we want this done now. Because, you know, a part of him's like, man, but I'm working on this. You know, and you could tell that he had, and you could tell that he had plans for two, and you could tell that he had plans for 250 to, I guess, originally be the finale to the Sally arc and possibly the Nagas arc, but you know, apparently that didn't happen, and that's where the dislike for the crossover comes into play as well. You see, some of the fans that don't like it really, you know, well, how do I put this? The fans that don't like it are not, you know, they don't hate it. They just don't like its positioning. It's like they'd be okay with it, but they don't like how it's being done. You know? And then the whole Mecha Salad thing, getting back to that again, you know, they look at this and they think, if this is going to be nothing, if this is being done for nothing more than a redesign of the character, just so she can be fully clothed, then it's the most ridiculous excuse we've ever seen. And, you know, that's another reason why they've been down on it. It's because to them it's been nothing more than an excuse to fully clothe her. And another reason they hate it as well is because it's like, well, why would she want to be fully clothed in clothes that remind her of her Mecha Sally as her time of Mecha Sally? It doesn't make sense. And again, you can look at the fact that they do have valid points, but when you look at it from their perspective, it does kind of seem a little weird, you know. And of course, you know, there are going to be those out there. There are going to be those that may not like the arc, but do kind of, but are all right with the redesign. It's something like, yeah, we may not like the direction the Mecha Sally, World Tour 2, Death Egg Mark II, the story arc is gone, but, you know, hey, if it's going to give her a redesign, that's fine with us. You know, it's been 20 years. It's time to kind of get a makeover and all that, you know, be with the times. You know, and then again, there are those that are okay with the crossover and looking forward to it, you know, currently reading about it, but they just don't like its positioning. You know, they'd rather have it happen after the current arc was done and whatever current arc in Mega Man was done. But they'd also like to have it in its own little situation. I mean, some people pretty much feel that if it could have been contained within Universe and Mega Man, if not in its own little comic book series for a whole year. But you see, as great as those ideas are, it's not what Sega or Capcom wanted. When they say, hey, use the main comics, use Universe spin-off to do the crossover during the late spring, summer of this year, of 2013, then you do it. No questions asked. And, you know, again, this is why you have these fans, you know, creating these anti-groups at certain sites and stuff. It's because of the fact that they just cannot stand not just Sega's interference, but Archie always, you know, basically giving in. You know, basically what they want, in my opinion, is they want Archie Comics to come out and say, hey, look, we're the ones that are doing this comic. You guys are doing nothing with the character at the time we're writing these stories, so whether you like it or not, we have control over the character and the character and the associated characters. So you let us do our job, and you guys just focus on whatever game you guys are going to try to at least bring out in the near future. And let us do our job in the meantime. You know? And, you know, that's basically what the fans want. You know, the fans that create these anti-Archie Sonic or anti-Archie groups and stuff like that, and anti-Ian Flynn groups, they don't create them because they don't like they don't like, you know, Ian Flynn, or they don't like the comic itself. It's more along the lines of they just don't like the fact that Archie and Ian are giving in, that Archie and Ian are not standing up to a corporation like Sega or Capcom and saying, hey, look, we're the ones publishing these comics. We're the ones that are constantly, every month, putting Sonic, releasing an adventure of Sonic every month, where you guys, or Sonic, you know, basically releasing an issue of Sonic and Mega Man every month, while you guys are doing nothing, or doing jack crap, if you will, game-wise on your end. So if anybody should have the license, or not have the license, but should be able to have the freedom to do whatever, we should, because you guys aren't doing jack right now with the game, on the gaming side of things. And that's basically why fans, you know, feel the way they do. It's because if Archie would just stand up and say that kind of stuff to you know, Capcom and Sega, you know, at least have Capcom and Sega realize, oh, okay, we get what you're saying, all right, you know, that's fine. I mean, I can understand if a new Sonic game was coming out, or a new Mega Man was coming out, a new Mega Man game was coming out, a new Sonic game was coming out. I can understand that perhaps around that time frame, you have to make the comics more game related. You have to put the primary focus on the game characters. I totally get that. But, you know, if you don't have anything planned for release, and especially if you're going to cancel your fourth game in a row, if you will, then let the characters, let the comic book people, let the people that publish the comic book, let them have the freedom to do whatever it needs to be done to get people to read the comic. Let them do whatever needs to be done. If they have to roboticize Sonic for about 6 issues and have the Freedom Fighters and all of them fight against him again, so be it. If they have to roboticize Amy Rose to the point that Eggman's ability, one of the abilities Eggman modifies on her, she could turn into a vehicle or a weapon. Vehicle of any kind, like a jet or a car, like a transformer, if you will, then so be it. You know, the point is, that's, you know, what these fans are wanting. That is why these fans, you know, again, it's, you know, that is why these fans create these groups. It's not because they totally hate on the company itself. It's not the fact that they totally hate on the comic itself. of, if you will, it's more along the, or it's not the fact that they hate on Ian himself. It's more along the lines they hate the fact that both Ian and Archie are not standing up to Sega and Capcom and saying, hey, look, you guys aren't doing jack crap, on your end with the games. At least until that time comes, let us have the freedom to do whatever we need to do to get people talking positively about the comic. I mean, if I was Ian Flynn, I've demonstrated this before, if I was Ian Flynn, and this is the way fans look at it, they create these anti-groups, this is what they would wish from Ian Flynn. Ian Flynn to get on the phone and go like, yeah, look, I know you guys want me to do the crossover, but I'm doing these 2 arcs in Sonic and Mega Man, and I've got this underground thing planned for Universe, so you know what? Since you guys aren't doing anything with the games, I'm going to wait on the crossover until these arcs are done. So if you guys have a problem with that, you call me, you let me know right now. Because if you have a problem, and you want to pull the plug on this, it just shows that you guys don't give a damn. Alright? Peace out. You see, or something like that. I know that kind of sounds I sounded stupid there, but that's basically what fans want. And again, in my personal opinion, that's why they've created these groups. They're trying to send the message that they're sick and tired of the crap that Archie has to go through, that Archie's pulling, that Ian's pulling, all because they're blocked into a corner. I mean, I've always had this feeling, and call me crazy, all that, or call me biased if you will, but I always had this feeling that Sally was never meant to be roboticized. In fact, one of the 2 names that come up to me, one of the most other common names that came up was Nicole. Nicole was the one to be possibly originally planned for roboticization. But another name that kept popping up for some odd reason, and again, it's not the fact that I hate on the character, I don't. I like the character, I really do. I wouldn't have a plush of her if I didn't. Again, I wouldn't have a plush of her if I didn't. And that's Amy Rose. I really feel Amy or Nicole, or maybe even Sonic, were the ones originally planned for the robotization, but because of the fact that Sega didn't like the long-term deal with it, they said no, but they were okay with Sally. Now you might say to yourself, well, wait a minute. If they said no there, then why was Amy turned into a roboticized master? Because it was for the crossover, and it's only for the spring and summer. It's not going to last too long. It's like if it's a few issue deal, it's okay. If it's a situation that's going to last until, a year or 2 later, they're not okay with it. Kind of get what I'm saying? I know that sounds crazy, but that's personally how I feel. Not how I feel, but personally what I feel was going to originally be. Now, Nicole, on the other hand, I think would have been too easy of a situation or too complicated or something. I don't know. But again, I just feel she or the other 2 were the more likely candidates. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of Sally. I'm just saying it just feels like that would have been the direction they would have gone in, except for the fact that the timetable of how long the character was going to be roboticized, would have been too long for them. And especially if Ian was going to, as he did with Sally, modify and weaponize that character. Now, again, I completely understand those that stand up for the arc and for the crossover. I get it, but again, a lot of fans, they give their opinion on why they just don't like what's going on. they just feel that, it could have been done better, that, the crossover could have waited or could have been its own little thing on the side like they've done in the past. They feel that the whole Mecha Sally thing or whatever could have been done easier. In fact, some feel that, hey, it doesn't have to take this long, all you have to do is just a few issues here and there, and boom, there you go. And especially the whole fact that she's getting a redesign out of it, the way they feel is that, hey, if you're going to give the character a redesign, that's fine, but you know what? You could have done a little side story, or if you will, where she went shopping with her fellow girlfriends, if you will, and got a new makeover and all that. Would have been easier than this. But that's just how they feel, and that's why they've hated on this arc the entire time. And it doesn't help that the arc gets constantly interrupted by certain things like the crossover, which is another reason they hate it, but also because of things like an issue where it's based on the Olympics, yet it comes out months after the Olympics are done. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. But you see, another reason too that they hate on the arc, but again, another reason they hate on the arc so much, the Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II arc, is the fact that it's the way they look at it. And I know people look at this as being nothing more than excuses and stuff, but it's the fact that they feel it's just been padded out. It's like here you've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to bring this to an end, and yet you're padding it out and padding it out and padding it out and just recycling the same story or the same theme, the same pattern, issue after issue after issue. It's like you're not really doing anything different. Now I know some people might say, well, Endangered Species was different. Yes, that's true, but before that, a lot of them will say, you did nothing more. You didn't do anything different. It was just the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. That's another reason why they dislike this. It's because they had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, yet it just kept getting disliked, and yet it just kept getting padded out, padded out, padded out. And as far as the crossover, a lot of fans have already looked at this and said, you know what? It's like I said, some fans are okay with it, they're looking forward to it, but even though they're looking forward to it, they, along with those that are not looking forward to it, are basically saying that it's nothing more than Genesis Wave 2. It's the second Genesis Wave. It's nothing more than what we had before, with the possibility and rumor that the characters may not even remember what happened because it won't have no effect. And it's all being done because Sega and Capcom want to do something for the summer for the 20th anniversary of the Sonic comics and the 25th anniversary of the Mega Man franchise. So, again, and this is, again, even though there are those that are looking forward to it, that are happy the crossover's happening, they just don't like the positioning of it. They don't like the fact that it's being done because of another Genesis Wave, in which they know the result's going to be, or at least they think they know. And then again, you have those that don't like it because, again, it's the Genesis Wave, and it, again, just like the Olympics issue, is interrupting the arc and causing people to have to wait till September at the most to find out what happens next. And they don't like that. They never have and they never will. So, again though, what are you going to do? There's not much you can really do, but still, as I asked at the beginning of this video, and I'm sorry it's a long video, but again, as I asked at the beginning of this video, I would like to hear from an unbiased standpoint, how if you guys agree with what they have to say about this. From an unbiased standpoint, do you kind of agree by the points that they've pointed out throughout the past year and a half? From what I have said here, do you agree with any of that? From an unbiased standpoint, no purist talk, please. I'm asking kindly. But from an unbiased standpoint. Like if you're an average comic book reader, you know, and you constantly read comics for the story and all that, do you kind of agree with some of the things they've been talking about from an unbiased standpoint, or do you not agree? Let me know what you guys think, and please explain why you don't agree from an unbiased standpoint. I'd like to hear from what you guys have to say, and that's about it. That's all I'm going to say. But again, please be unbiased. Please be unbiased. No purist talk or anything like that. Just be unbiased as if you're just reading another comic or something like that, or listening to another topic. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or not agree? And please give some kind of explanation as to why and why not. And that's all I'm going to say. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you all later.